SBC Media.
Welcome to iGaming Daily, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe. Supported by SBC Summit Latino America, bringing together the leadership teams and product specialists from retail and online operators in Latin American markets.
Discover the potential of Latin America's booming iGaming and sports betting markets at SBC Summit Latin America, the premier industry event in the region. Join SBC at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Miami from October 31st to November the 2nd. Register now at sbcevents.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to a very special edition of the iGaming Daily. Today we've got two fighters ready to take the ring. We're going to have a little bit of a preview ahead of the SBC charity boxing event on Friday the 10th of November. Live from London, always an incredible event. Really good atmosphere last time, and we've huge credit to everybody, every combatant. And we've got two of them here today as well. I'll let them introduce themselves. In the blue corner, we've got Simon. Simon, let them know who you are, where you're from, and what you're planning on doing on Friday, November the 10th.
All right, so I'm Simon Pilkington. I'm currently the sort of MD of Simple Consulting. I was the ex-CEO of Cafe Rocks, a big affiliate in the iGaming industry. On the 10th of November, I am planning to turn up and put some of the training, the hard training that has gone in so far into practice and do my very best against the man mountain that is Mark, who I'm sure you'll hear from very shortly.
Well, there you go. He's almost done the introduction for you. The man mountain. Mark, how are you doing, my friend?
Well, I mean, it's very kind of Simon to call me man mountain. I'm not overly sure that that's a legitimate claim, but I'm good, Joe. Thank you. Good stuff.
And yeah, it's really exciting. I can see you guys are already you're drinking water. We got the videos on for those that can't see you. You've already drank a lot of water on this call, so you're staying hydrated. You're taking it seriously. But I guess the first question really for you guys is why? What made you want to do this, and what drew you to this challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I can go first on that one. I think that we work in an industry which is very fast-paced, very, very high returns for certain people that work in it, and there's a lot of money that splashes around it. But, I think that one of our duties as human beings is to give back and do service to other human beings. And, when this opportunity was presented to me as being, the charity and for what it was for and the background behind it, it was obviously a no-brainer for me to want to be a part of it. I think that with every tragedy, there is an opportunity for people to step up and selflessly give back. That was my rationale for taking part.
It's incredibly commendable. And Simon, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, not too dissimilar, I guess. I think having been through some of the recent sparring sessions, I'm questioning some of my life choices around April time now. But it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. The everything I wanted from it has come through from it, no matter how tough it's been. And the underlying piece, very similar to Mark, was around the charity side of it. The guys who set up Oliver's Wish Foundation, I actually worked with his brother and cousin at a previous company. So I was very aware of both the situation and the charity. And one of the charities that they support is Cystic Fibrosis, which my wife works for within the BRI in Bristol. So having not known about cystic fibrosis before meeting her, I'm now very aware of that really, really grotty and horrible disease. The fact that so much money was raised last year and a big portion of that went to cystic fibrosis. Those connections, coupled with the fact that I've always wanted to do the boxing training and obviously the byproduct of getting a bit fitter, finding some muscles I never knew I had, and seeing what it's like to be punched in the face for the first time. It all combines with just a really compelling argument to jump in and throw your name in the hat. And everything's lived up to it. So
brilliant. And I guess let's start with the charity. I was there last year. There was lots of promotional material in the ring, lots of promotion of the charity. lots of money raised as well. And cool, I'm pretty hard to break, but incredibly emotional. It was really tugged on the heartstrings. Such a great cause, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I've got 2 young kids, and you spend your life as parent, and obviously everyone has their own loves and passions regardless of kids, but you spend your life as a parent in particular, like dreading horrible stuff, and there's a lot of your life sort of formed around that. And even though I wasn't there last year, I think just everything I've heard about it being so emotional, I think it's actually a big part of the night that I'm going to struggle with. It's been very easy to train for the boxing, as tough as it is, because it's very tangible, it's very physical, you know what you're doing. What I'm not really prepared for on the night is all of the surrounding stuff, the crowd, the noise, the emotional speeches, the charity element of it, and how that's going to affect the adrenaline, how that's going to affect the energy levels, and how that's going to come out. So mega exciting, but yeah.
No, that's a really valid point, actually, because I was there last year. It was incredible atmosphere. It was buzzing. And we obviously had Dan in the ring before. Massive kudos to him, by the way, for everything he's done in building this. But he was in the ring before, talking about the charity. And it did make me think, like, there's a lot of emotions in the room right now. It's it's very emotional. It's very heightened, but he's still got to go and fight later. And as much as it's charity boxing, it is still a fight. Mark, what are you doing to sort of make sure that on the night your emotions are in check? And you guys are first up, I think, so you'll be almost straight after that type of stuff. And yeah, what are you doing to prepare mentally as well as physically?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think the mental preparation side of things is something you can't prepare for. I think that all that's in my rest is to train as hard as I possibly can physically, and arrive on the night in the best shape that I can possibly be in. And the rest of it, I mean, I'm certain that the minute that I get into the hotel, there will be a relaxation of my lower intestine, and it will become all a little bit more real. And I mean, everybody's heard the famous Mike Tyson quote. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. I mean, I've been training with my coaches to box a certain way against Simon. If he clumps me in the first 15 seconds, that's gone out the window completely, I think mentally, this is just, I'm speaking for myself. I think that boxing, and characteristically for me, it's very important. It breeds humility, and I think that it's a respectful, disciplined sport, which makes you humbled. I mean, I've been clumped. So, I mean, you can see, I've been clumped in sparring so many times that, you're humbled. And I love being humbled because it's an important part of personal growth as well.
No, we are a audio podcast, so you would have got away with that. But I've got to let them know now you're wearing a bit of a bruise on the nose and a little bit of a swelling on the cheek as well. Yeah,
exactly. And, that's training with, very tough people. But, I think me and Simon have had really lovely communication throughout this whole process. And I'm very thankful that it's Simon and I that are going in the ring together, because, Simon's a top guy. And, if he was a dick, it would make it a lot harder, right? Because then, there would be emotion based upon my opponent, and there's not. The emotion is that he's a top bloke, and I know how hard he's worked. Not just, boxing wise, it's an emotional journey as well.
Yeah, for sure. It really is. And Simon, you mentioned as well that you wanted to feel what it was like to be punched in the face. That was a unique experience. So I guess I've got to ask you, how was it? What was it like?
Yeah, I mean, not as bad as I thought, to be honest. Like, I've always avoided conflict in my life, like street brawl, street fights. I've never thrown a punch in my life. I played rugby, and that's about as physical as I've sort of ever got before that. it's humbling. Like Mark said, every single person I've sparred, I've not sparred anyone below my level, and I only ever started boxing. I've only thrown my first punch in April, so it's been sort of a 6-month journey. And everybody I spar is much, much better than me. And so there's points where it is humbling, and it's great for the learning, and everyone tells you how good learning that is, and they're right, and I see it. But there are points, and especially the last couple of weeks as things have really ramped up, you go through a bit of a crisis of confidence as well in a way, because all you feel like you're doing is being pounded, being beaten, and just making silly mistakes. And actually on the night, we actually haven't seen each other fight too much or spar too much, because Mark's over in Gozo, I'm in Bristol. So I think it'd be a really interesting contest to see sort of how we both handle it and how it goes, to be fair, because we're not used to each other's styles as well. So yeah, hopefully, I know Mark's probably going to have a lot of power in him, and we know that my strength is sort of probably more around the fitness side and sort of movement side. So it's going to be a really interesting battle, I think. That's what all of the coaches have said so far, is that even though there's a bit of a weight difference between us, it's going to be quite an even match because we're quite different styled.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting one for sure. And Mark, how is it's good that you're both training in different locations as well. That's pretty cool. I think last year a lot of the guys trained together, but it's good that you're both training in different spots. Mark, where are you training, and what gym are you training at, and how is it going generally, the training?
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Like, genuinely, the boxing training is so much fun, because it's not just. I think the night, again, and for some reason I'm going on back again to humility and ego in this for some reason, but everyone thinks that they know how to fight, right? And so you just punch, and there's so much to consider. It's like when I'm going in, I've got to move my head and my feet have to be in a certain place. And but I've trained with some very interesting people here. So I trained at Fort Fitness in Malta with Haytham Lamous, who is a Maltese champion, and he's over in Liverpool at the moment fighting for a Commonwealth belt. And also trained with Super Scott Dixon, who is fighting for a bare knuckle UK belt on the 28th. Now, I didn't spar with either of these people, I hasten to add, because they probably would have hospitalized me. But, watching them train has helped me immensely. And it's also very interesting to get the different styles of coach. So Haytham, and I'm sure you will never see this, so it doesn't matter, but, he was very blunt. It was like, no, that's shit. So what are you doing? You're rubbish. Why don't you listen to me? Whereas the other guy, Scott, was more, that's great. That's it. They're different, varying styles. And, I'm a simple person, and I just need to remember a few fundamentals that I've learned in order to take into the ring with me. And but then, I've also been training in Gozo too, M&P Fitness in Gozo with a trainer there. So yeah, it's just important to get as much ring time in, I think, as possible. And also it was hilarious. Sorry, just to finish that piece, I went training with one of the guys in my team, and we had an opportunity to body spar at the end, and he took it very, very seriously and mistook my head for my body on numerous occasions. So that was fun. But no, so what I was going to say was, it's not just boxing, it's full conditioning. And I think from a fitness perspective, I would recommend this sorts of training to anyone, because, you're doing cardio, you're doing strength work, you're doing floor work. It's really holistic. Yeah.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And Simon, how about yourself? What gym are you training at? How's it going? Any good stories from camp, let's say?
Yeah, I've so as soon as I thought I was about 80% across the line for doing this, I decided to start learning how to box. I thought that was a smart idea. Give myself credit for that one. But I found a place in Bristol called Proton Fitness. It's a couple of PTs, basically. A bit like Mark, two guys, quite different styles. One tall, one short. One very quick, the taller guy. One a bit sort of heavier, maybe a bit closer to Mark's body sort of shape and size, which is useful for me. And yeah, so far, it's been very good. They've just moved the gym closer to me as well, which has been really useful. I've knocked myself out rolling too low onto my coach's pelvis, gave myself proper concussion. That was after a few weeks. Had my first ever bloodied nose. Thankfully, still haven't broken a bone yet. I've been sparring since the end of April as well. I had this very British problem of apologising every time I threw a punch. It's really I don't get embarrassed by much, and I find this all part of the journey from where I was then to now. Like every time I landed one, I'd just be, I'm so sorry, and my coach would be like, stop bloody telling me sorry, just hit me again. And like, you guys, you're all maniacs, all of you. Like, but there's just been a lot of times when it's just been new things. My other coach pretty much knocked me into the corridor, check cooking me when I got a bit more confident. But since then, things have improved, to be honest, and I've got a lot better. And that's where the good confidence comes, because even though you're taking a beating, you realize you're holding your own a little bit more in the ring with those you're sparring. And the guys I'm sparring are my two coaches. So, it's 2 15-year kickboxing and boxing experienced guys. So I feel pretty good with that. I've also been really lucky in that, Bristol's close enough to London that I can get up to one of the sessions for the group training. So I've got up to as many of the Tuesday sessions with Darren and managed to get bit of that camaraderie with some of the other boxers, which I'm sure, and very sadly for Mark over there, hasn't been able to get over to yet. But and I'm sure he sort of has missed that sort of feeling, because especially when we were out in Barcelona for SBC, that was we did a couple of sessions there in the morning. A load of the other crew did some at G2E in Vegas as well. So that camaraderie that's come from sort of actually being around the whole group of boxers has been incredible. And even though we're all fighting each other, or there's different people fighting each other, and technically on the night we've got to go in with that very much, right, we're going in to win this fight mentality. The sort of love and respect and just true respect for each other of going into the ring together has really grown to the point where on Tuesday there was some pretty Darren brought in a few sort of ringers to spar us, and one was a pretty solid unit, let's call him. Let's just say the room went dark when he walked in. The guy who went up against him, just an absolute warrior, just to sort of hold his own with him for that long. Ben, there's one Scobie Turner I was lucky enough that I was in a position of taking a breather at the time, so I was looking in and watching it, and my God, Ben's an absolute warrior for what he did in the ring tonight, and my respect for him just went through the window, and it was tough for him. He was a bit under the weather as well, but he really held his own. And just being able to see those things, like Mark said, like the learning experience off of that, because Ben, came in with a bit more experience anyway. He's been really helpful to me and really kind when we've been sparring, giving advice, as has everyone, all the other coaches, all the people assisting, people like Lee, people like John Arnold, Dan as well, who's come along. Beardy's still the only person. Dan Beard's the only person still to put me on my backside, which was a big shock in the system. But it turns out that's what an extra 27 kilos does to you.
He can crack as well. I'm not sure if you've watched it from last year, but yeah, he got a big stoppage. He can whack that guy.
He's massive. He's huge. I'd not met him in the person until Barcelona, and it was one of those where I sort of put my hand out, and then I just kept looking up.
But it's it's the respect thing as well, right? No one's trying to take each other's heads off in that training or in the ring. Darren does a great job at controlling it and making sure everything's going right. And if someone does get put down or gets hit badly, they've always got a message from the person that an hour later just checking in and making sure everything's all and everyone's fine. So it's been one of the best things I've ever done. It's so intense, like mentally, being honest, like. My mindset is just occupied currently all the time by boxing. Like, I was at a gig last night in Bristol and the band's playing and they're really good. And as I'm sort of bopping around, all I'm thinking is like slip, duck, And it's kind of silly and embarrassing, but don't want to out myself as a wife beater. But, when you go to sleep sometimes and you have that sort of, just as you're drifting off, you have that like, I'm falling dream, or like I'm jumping and you sort of twitch. I'm going to sleep at the moment on my side, like with my left arm cocked, and I'm thinking of boxing, and I twitched and my arm came out and sort of threw an uppercut as I was sort of sleeping, and like into the back of my wife's head. And I was like, I thought I didn't touch her. I was like, I'm so sorry. I thought I nearly hit you. And she's like, no, you did just hit me. And I'm like, so I think she's very, very keen for the night to be done and dusted now, so I can relax a little bit. But yeah, there
you go. By the end of training camp, she might be rooting for you, Mark, to get her some revenge.
Yeah. She certainly made sure that the life insurance is in a good place. Let's put it that way.
Brilliant. Are you sleeping all right, Simon? Like, is it because I'm not, being very honest?
No, I'm not a great sleeper anyway, to be fair, but this is taking up a lot of mental capacity for me. Obviously work's priority, family priority, then the boxing, and the boxing is taking over every other piece of my life and everything I'm thinking about. And I love it so much, I'm going to carry it on afterwards in a bit more of a relaxed fashion, let's say. But, going in, everyone who did it last year said this would happen and you'd be thinking about it so much and worrying about it. But yeah, there are certain nights when I just go to bed just thinking, I guess a little bit scared, a little bit apprehensive, a little bit nervous, and just running through scenarios. And then you realize it's like 2 or 3 in the morning and Christ, you haven't gone to sleep.
Yeah, it's completely understandable. And I guess it's because that humbling experience that you talk about where you get hit in the face, times it by 100 in terms of how humbling it is when you get punched in the face in front of hundreds of your work colleagues in a fancy venue. That is, it's escalated even further. So, not to increase the nerves, but yeah, it's completely understandable.
To be honest, I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned by that bit at all. Like, I genuinely don't care about that side of it. I think if it was a generic white collar where no one knew each other and we'd all just come from wherever, then yeah, of course. But I think the love in the room and the underlying purpose of the event is such that, don't get me wrong. If Simon beats me, then the people that have travelled from Tallinn to watch me, I'm going to be happy. Let's make no bones about it. Christmas bonus time might be.
I'll take a beating as I walk out.
No, not in that sense. They'll be unhappy with me. But yeah, I don't know. I think boxing's an entertainment sport as well, right? And I've had to rein my ego in when I've been doing this because in my mind I've been going, I want to come out in a costume, with my walk on. I want to come out and do some sort of theatrical walk on. But there's no bigger dick than the guy that comes out with the theatrical walk on and then gets knocked out in the first 30 seconds, right? So
yeah, it's
I just need to keep it a little bit on lockdown.
Mark Nassim Hamed, maybe, I don't know. Because
that's it. And all that new guy, Ben Whittaker, that sort of thing. But yeah, and
it's great while it's working and while he's winning, but when he gets beat, it's going to look pretty bad.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah, completely. And that, I think you're one trick pony then, aren't you? But I was in Costa in Tallinn the other day, and I'm waiting for my macchiato, and I'm there, and I'm slipping, and I'm stepping, and and I'm flinging my shoulders, and people, I don't realize I'm doing it, and people are, Estonians are very sort of reserved people anyway, so they see this really weird tattooed non-Estonian guy in a coffee shop sort of ducking, bobbing, weirdo.
Shadowboxing around the streets of Estonia.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, weirdo in Tallinn.
That's brilliant. That's fantastic. And I did want to, really quickly, Mark, you're a southpaw, right?
Yeah.
Simon, have you managed to train for that, or have you got some southpaw sparring in?
Yeah, Mark alluded earlier, like he's working with his trainers to sort of a certain style to fight me. Like he knows how tall I am, he knows my weight. He probably has a good guess at sort of how I'm going to try and approach this fight, and in vice versa. We know Mark's southpaw. I'm really hoping he hasn't trained to switch stance too much, but he's a southpaw. I know he's shorter. I know he's bigger. So again, me and my coaches have sort of put a plan together to go into the ring. And I'm very grateful to at least one of my coaches who's pretty much sparred exclusively southpaw for me. He still beat the living daylights out of me on a regular basis. But I'm very grateful I've managed to get some southpaw in. And also some of the guys in the other fighters are southpaw up in London. So the odd occasion I've got to spar up there, I've managed to get the odd southpaw sparring as well. But it really changes the dynamic. It actually really messes me up now when I spar an orthodox, because I'm so used to trying to go a certain way or try and do a certain thing that you do it against them and they just, a fist comes out of nowhere and lands. You're like, what happened?
Yeah, if you do that with an orthodox, you'll walk straight onto their backhand if you're trying to fight against a southpaw.
Yeah, I remember the first, when I boxed amateur the first time, about 10th fight I boxed southpaw for the first time, and it took me 2 rounds to really figure it out. I didn't know it was a southpaw until the night And yeah, it was an absolute nightmare. We were getting our legs tangled up and all sorts. So yeah, as long as you've done some.
So you're a
prep for
boxer, Joe?
Not anymore, obviously. But when I was young, that's what I did. Didn't play too much football.
How many fights? What's your stats?
So I had like 45 amateur fights, and yeah, and then I think I lost more than I won in the end. But yeah, got to a decent level, so it was good fun. So all the feelings that you're going through now, I can really relate to. But I was about...
What weight were you?
So I used obviously it changed because I was growing. I was like 12 to 15, 13 to 15 or 16. But yeah, so it changed as I was growing. But I remember like I was probably used to boil down to like 50 kilos and stuff. But yeah, so yeah, everything you're going through, yeah, wish you the best of luck, guys. And it's great to hear, Simon, that you're taking it on and you're carrying on a little bit. Mark, are you going to be carrying on with any of the training or anything that you've learned that you can use after the experience?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to try and find a vets amateur league over here in Malta and start running around having tear ups on the weekends.
Nice. The shadow boxing continues.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think that yes, I will continue it to a certain extent, but my character traits are such that if I don't have that end goal to aim for, it all becomes a little bit sort of vanilla. Do you know what I mean? I need an aim, so
it's funny actually. I've spoken about this to a few people recently. Like, so much has gone into this 6 minutes of fighting, right? On November 10th, and hopefully 6 minutes. Let's presume we get to the end. The 6 minutes of fighting, and so much mentally, like I said, and I'm like, when that's over, we both said to each other, right when we knew we were fighting each other, we'll be the first people to go and grab a lemonade together at the bar, give ourselves a big hug, and watch the rest of the fights. But actually, there's going to be a moment after that where there's a big lull of like, oh God, what am I doing now? Like, what am I aiming? Like, what's the next thing? Like, what is it? So, yeah, keeping training is part of that. But yeah, I don't know what the next challenge is gonna be after that, and what the next aim is. So it's quite interesting.
Definitely important to set goals. If you're just training for nothing, it's becomes incredibly tedious and hard to do. I don't know how. There's a lot of people that just do that. I don't quite know how, but yeah. So that's definitely something that you can take off after this. And you guys are, I guess to close, we've ran over time a little bit, but I guess to close, you guys are kicking off the night. You're going to start us in style. I have no doubt about that. They've picked you first for a reason. I'm sure of that too. But if I could get a prediction, there's been no trash talk so far, so I think maybe it might be time to commence the trash talk. We could get a prediction from you both for how the night plays out.
Listen, look, if it could go one or two ways, right? Like, not a prediction, but the options. I could get into a nice rhythm and land a couple of good backhands on Simon, and it could stop the fight early. Conversely, he could give me the runaround, and it could also stop early because I'm on my knees grasping for air. My wish is that we end up fighting the full 3 rounds. And that it's a points decision, and we have that moment of standing together in the ring at the end with our arms aloft and having a hug after the fight and etc. That's my desire.
Brilliant. And Simon, how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, look, I love Mark, and I think we've got on really well during this process, and we're really respectful. But we're both going into this that on the night when that bell goes, before the bell goes, everything goes into sort of winning that fight and doing our best put on a show, but ultimately to get a record of 1-0. Like, that's it. I want to retire with 1-0. So Mark's just nailed that in terms of, I think, the overall sort of prediction. If he lands a couple of big clean shots for me, that power is going to be really interesting of how much I can take of that. I know my fitness, and he won't mind me saying this, but I think my fitness is probably a lot higher, and movement will be a bit quicker. So I believe I can go the full 3 rounds, no problems on that. I'm not insignificant in my power. It won't be as heavy as Mark's, but I believe if I can land shots as well, it's going to certainly throw him off and do some damage. So I'm there to win. Yeah, that's about as trustworthy as I get, I'm afraid.
Brilliant. Well, Yeah, that was did get a bit spicy there. We got a bit spicy there at the end. But what I do know is, as much as this is, this is an exhibition, you guys are taking this so seriously. I can tell from just speaking to you and from the training that you've been doing that you're not there for a tickling contest. You're there to fight each other, and it's going to be a great night. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's for a fantastic cause as well. So yeah, everybody should get their tickets. Get down to the Capitol on Friday the 10th of November, because it's going to be a really, really good night. And I wish you both the best of luck in the rest of your training, and obviously best of luck on the night. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I just say, look, anyone who's not able to go, who is going to maybe get the live stream or hasn't heard about the live stream, like, feel free to get it, but please make a donation to Oliver's Wish Foundation, the Just Giving page. You'll see it on all the SBC media, and you'll see it for our own posts. But yeah, please, if you can, make a little donation to the cause, not because of us, but because of how great the cause is.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And to echo that, I think there's, my guess, this is just my guess, but we work in the gambling industry, so I would be very surprised if there weren't some books being run. I would urge the owners, the bookmakers in this instance, to divert any funds towards Oliver's Wish as well after the event.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, guys. Thanks for your time today, and best of luck with the rest of camp.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of iGaming Daily, brought to you in conjunction with SBC Summit Latino America, being held at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Miami on the 31st of October to the 2nd of November. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network. Happy reading.